Well, well, well. What is in the actual world is happening? I don't know. Am I actually rooting for a bad guy to win while I'm also rooting for the good guy to win? Yes, I actually think I am because right now the two main evil bad guys are Nero and Shura, the Poseidon family. And strangely enough, I'm voting for the Sutton Gravity, the Demon King family, despite the fact that Siggy will very likely become even worse than Nero and Shura combined. Yes, this is me, the Angry Anime fan, and this is chapter 163. For the most part, it is actually a despair chapter, but the ending actually brings finally some very small hope that Shura is at long last tasting the last of his ego. Last chapter, though, ended with Shura pulling out Shiki's eye. Turns out he didn't pull out both of his eyes. He only pulled out one. In sorry, it's a little bit strange though that he actually do not proceed to do that again. Although if you ask me, I think the reason why he's not doing that is simply because of pure sadism. If his line was correct, then it's pretty likely that he could have pulled off Shiki's limbs. Maybe he hasn't really confirmed it, but since he could pull out an eye socket, then I would have actually not pull it. Say it was be impossible for him to pull out the legs or arms. So why didn't he do that? Well, I think he just if he could do that and did not do that, I think he just simply did it because he's a sadistic asshole. That is all it is. He wanted to attack Shiki after he was wounded from a very life-threatening wound, which was an eye pocket, and then proceed to kick him, punch him, and overwhelm him in superpower. However, when Shiki manages to do one very strong counterattack, Shura's confident grace actually breaks, which implies that if Shiki really has begun to weld into Shura, then he would have been the one to defeat Shura. So Shura uses his first named attacks. Oh, and by the way, they are not Maggie Mech attacks. At least they're not called, which once again shows that, yes, Shura may have learned the same ether gear, but it's clear that he did not learn the Maggie Mech ether gear fighting style. He just simply uses gravity. It's heavy rain. He summons a boulder and then crushes it into a spear, which he uses to pierce through Shiki, saying that saying almost a line that is almost the same type of line that the Raken said to Shiki the moment he was shot, and that is, do you understand what it means to be in a different league? Granted, Draken didn't say exactly that, but he did say, this is a lesson that you were in a different league. And then so Shiki falls, seemingly defeated. Finally, Rebecca and the two robo pals, Pino and Happy, reaches the All Link. For some strange reason, Moscow is not there, but I guess he's escorting Laguna, with which they detect the All Link system, and Pino detects that it's smalling down. Soldiers appearing, so Rebecca gets to show her leaper skills as well as shooting, which is pretty awesome. However, the awesomeness is immediately ended with bloody gore. In fact, this is one of the more goriest scenes again. I said it before, Hiromashima do not hold back in the gore when it comes to this type of manga. And this one, especially with the sadistic bastard like Shura, and this time, once again, he does once again, he does it. And that is basically, Shura appears and crushes all the minions until they become nothing more than big pile of blood. Basically, he crushed their bodies so much that all that was left was blood. Now that is one gruesome way of dying. Strangely, he decides not to do that to Rebecca and the rest just yet, simply because they reach the All Link, so they will bear witness to history. As he activates it, or prepares to activate it, Shura gloats, saying he's winning. But for the first time ever, Shura's confidence grins completely falls over, and he enters a villainous breakdown when Poseidon Nero shows himself in a screen, confirming that yes, he knew every single thing that Shura was going to do. It's pretty likely that he didn't find that out because of the dice. No, he knew that. He even says that it was pretty obvious that Shura was going to do this. So he even says to him, "Victory is not for you, it's only for me." And what's even more shocking is that Nero has seemingly defeated Siggy, even beheaded him, which is something that Shura clearly didn't see coming. Well, it is worth noting that while everybody has said that Nero is old, he was still in a Russian Cis Galactica. So maybe people just didn't know his ether gear and thought he was very, very underestimating. Also, we find out the name of his ether gear, and although we do not completely find out how it works, we can almost guess through the context. The name of his ether gear is Wormhole, which was the name of the chapter. It allows him to transport things in a blink of an eye. Those 2000 Imperial antimatter bombs, he has transported them to Shura's place. Which also explains why Nero may be so fast. If he can use this wormhole to teleport other places, then maybe he can use it on himself to teleport away. And here, the funny thing is that Shura did not even know that Nero had an ether gear. So through all his boasting, arrogance, and everything, Shura in the end is nothing more than a big bad wannabe. He knew nothing of his adoptive father. Granted, his adoptive father did say you never show anyone his cards. But this once again throws the very, very big, confusing question. What was even the point of adopting Shura if all of this happening? Yes, I mean, when Shura was a boy, he didn't appear to be sadistic. And if Yuna's conversation when she was still in her Red Thread Stockholm Syndrome is corrected, Shura has never known love, so that may have actually been it. And what we have seen from Nero, it is clear that he sacrifices many things that he could have loved, or maybe he didn't love them at all, just because so he can win. So what was he? So the point of adopting Shura was because of the dice. But it may have just been for this very, very moment as well. He knew that his son would become who he would become, so he just went along with that until he would have to sacrifice him as well. All for victory. Maybe. It's a twisted family, this Poseidon family. But either way is the fact that Shura refuses to believe that that Nero has transported this. And as he prepares to activate the all-link, suddenly Shiki busts through the wall, gives a well-deserved kick right in Shura's face. And we can see that he is missing his eye, he actually looks very badass. Shiki is not dead yet, because Shura assumed he was dead. A lot of people also assumed that he was dead, but if you ask me, no, I think he was never dead. He may have used the technique that Senolith taught him to minimize the damage. Or something else is kicking in and it helped him survive. Pay a note that Shura didn't pierce Shiki's heart, and Drakenyo pierced his brain, so there's a difference on how he could survive or something like that. But then the bigger surprise though is the lines that are dropped in the ending. And that is as Shiki says, "Our fight wasn't over, Shura." And Nero sees Shiki but do not recognize him, but then suddenly get pierced through his stomach by a mechanical hand as the body of Shiki suddenly rises and even says that Shiki is his boy in a manner of speaking. As Nero turns around shaking in both pain and shock, he sees that the head of Siggy is still alive, and it says almost the same line as Shiki, and that is, "Our fight hadn't ended yet, Nero." which ends the chapter. So yeah, a very messed up family, the Poseidons. But the bigger question here, though, is how did Siggy survive? I mean, Nero assumed that he beheaded him and destroyed his head. That would be enough to kill Siggy, but it's clear that Siggy is something special. Is this tie into his mysterious resurrection? I mean, a lot of people are very worried that Siggy is going to become a seraph-like villain. And while the difference in their personality couldn't be any way more bigger, what made a lot of people, minus me, hate Seraph from Fairy Tail as the main villain was because he was so immortal and people knew that he will have to be defeated, but it will always be with some bull, according to other people. So I believe that when people see this, they will be very afraid that is Siggy also immortal and therefore can't be killed. But no, I don't think he is immortal, and even if he is, he can be killed through the power of the chronophage. I strongly believe that. Because even if Shiki cannot destroy him, I believe time can destroy him. Because even that can sometimes wither away immortality. Yes, some immortality do not age and live forever, but powers of time that manipulates everything, even Unow's existence and time. Nah, I don't think any immortality can stop that. But again, it's not confirmed if that's the case. What it is confirmed though is that Siggy is alive and he is way more dangerous than we thought. Although the fact that he took so much damage is surprising. I thought it was gonna be more and more unbeatable than this. Shiki also survived, which was very good. Him kicking Shura in that final page of his, that was very satisfying. The climax of this fight is finally approaching, so please just defeat Shura already. Shura was nothing more than a sadistic bastard, this one. But seeing him being outplayed by his father, that was actually strangely satisfying. Because it only makes sense that Nero would know everything that Shura was going to do. Come on. If he wouldn't, then he would have been even more stupid than I thought he already were. So, yeah, it was very satisfying to see Nero do that. But again, it really begs the question, how did Nero even see Shura? And why did he even do all this? We will never know someone who follows the guiding dice for sadistic choices. Also, there is just one last thing we should talk about. It's not unknown if this is relevant, or even if it is, but when Shiki appears on the monitor and Poseidon Nero saw him, he said who, which means implied that he did not know anything about Shiki. And granted, he didn't, because only Shura dealt with Shiki and nothing more. But what I mean is, surely someone who can see the future through the guiding dice and know the means he has to do to assure victory should have seen something like this coming, right? Granted, it's not known if he could, but if he always says that he's always winning and the fact that Shura also will be stopped, and that meant that these bombs will go off and, well, everything would go good, his temple will crumble and he will defeat Sigurd, then that's probably what he envisioned in the vision. Yes, but he would lose his temple because he would lose all his soldier. But he still said who when he saw Shiki. That implies to me that the guiding dice did not predict that Shiki would be there. Which, if that is the truth, then Shiki is an even bigger threat than Siggy already said. A man that can defy destiny. I mean, granted he did when Rebecca managed to revive him through the world 30. But that's a story for another day. So, despite the despair hanging in the air, this was still a pretty awesome chapter. Now, though, the fights are beginning to wrap up, and I hope they will soon. Give me your thoughts if you have any.